External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar told the Lok Sabha today how the Border Roads Organization has raised its spending on border infrastructure by nearly 3 times. He mentioned projects such as the Atal Tunnel, the Sela Tunnel, the Nechipu Tunnel, and of course, India's highest motorable road in Umlingla. All of these projects have contributed to enhancing India's security posture along the line of actual control. Now, News9 Plus has reported exclusively on all of these vital strategic projects. I'm joined by my colleague Nivriti Mohan, who is the only Indian journalist to have traveled to all these projects and reported from the ground there. And of course, joining me to discuss this is Lieutenant General Rajiv Chaudhary, former DG, Border Roads Organization, who supervised many of these projects that the External Affairs Minister mentioned in Parliament today. General Chaudhary, welcome to the News9 Plus show.
Thank you.
Another 21-gun salute for the BRO, if I could call it that, in Parliament today.
So kind of you to say that, and it is all hard work of BRO Karam Yogis who have been relentlessly working very hard in the terrain and the climate what your colleague Nivriti has seen herself.
And Nivriti has seen this herself, and in fact, I'm surprised, General Chaudhary, to see Nivriti in an armchair because she's always out on the field, whether it's, high altitude deserts or it's tunnels or it's airfields. Nivriti is out there. She's the outdoor person on our team. But Nivriti, tell us this thing of the fact that it's rare praise for the BRO. BRO doesn't get enough praise for what it does, but to have it mentioned in the floor of the House today, the fact that it's contributed to enhancing our security posture along the LAC, what the External Affairs Minister mentioned. What is it that you think that the one big secret sauce that the BRO runs on in the last 5 years? You've been looking at the BRO very closely for the last 2 years, but what is it that has enabled them to execute all of these projects in the last 4 years in such a record time?
So trigger for everything is Galwan.
Yes.
As you know, in 2020, all that happened in Galwan was the trigger for all the infrastructural development that has happened all along LAC, not only in eastern Ladakh. You can talk about the middle sector, also the eastern sector. Everywhere the infrastructural development has taken place because we realized that without infrastructural development,
we are vulnerable.
Other things cannot go.
Yes.
So if you talk about 2021, the budget of BRO was somewhere around 2,500 crores, and BRO was the minimum talked about and discussed organization earlier or 10 years ago or 7 years ago. You won't see any media coverage happening of BRO work. But that was because they were not getting that much of fund from the government.
Funds was one reason, of course.
Funds was also one of the reasons. But after 2020, when the government realized that no, we need to develop our infrastructure on the borders to be right on the frontiers as early as possible, whenever required.
Rapidly deploy, as the External Affairs Minister mentioned. And General Chaudhary, what Nivriti just mentioned, the fact that, of course, the Border Roads Organization has seen a huge increase in its grants, in its budgetary allocations. But, tell us, what was the difference pre-Galwan and what is the difference post-Galwan? In the last 4 years, what have changed really for the Border Roads Organization? BRO has been doing fantastic work along the borders. You've been building the kind of roads and bridges that few countries in the world have been able to do in these time frames and these harsh climatic conditions. But what really changed after Galwan? Give us an idea.
That is a very good question. I will tackle in 2 parts. Firstly, the budget.
Right.
You see, if we take the hard facts, statistics. So before Galwan, in 9 years, we consumed 43,000 crore of funds allotted to us in 9 years.
Right.
And after Galwan, in 4 years, we consumed 45,000 crore in just 4 years. So that is first. Secondly, because the construction of the roads and bridges, tunnels is also the attribute to the budget what is allocated to us.
Right.
So I'll give you some rough figures that earlier, before Galwan, we were constructing approximately 600 to 700 kilometers of road in a year.
Right.
And after Galwan, the rate dramatically increased to 1100 kilometers per year. So making it approximately 4,500 kilometers of road has been constructed just in 4 years by the border road all along the LAC. Bridges also, the bridging rate per year was approximately 800 meters or so, but post Galwan, it has gone thrice. It has gone to 2,100 meters
Right.
per year. So that is a change. And tunnels, I'll give you an idea. Before Galwan, Border Road had just constructed 4 tunnels in
Yes.
60 years. In Galwan period, 4 tunnels have been made in 4 years.
Right.
And we are working on 10 tunnels, and on 8, we are in the forward stages of planning. And if you come to airfields, three airfields have been completed post Galwan itself.
Yes.
To Bagdogra and Barakpur in Eastern Command, basically to give extension to the Indian Air Force, strategic extension to the Indian Air Force in the eastern sector. And last time we discussed about Neuma. Neuma is another
Yes.
miracle. In fact, it's an engineering marvel and
Yes.
the testament of the human spirit. In 10 months, the airstrip of 3 kilometers has been completed. So that is how the infrastructure has gone ahead. And if I take a minute, leaf out of the speech of External Affairs Minister in Parliament today,
Yes.
apart from aggressive diplomatic engagements, increased military mobilization,
Yes.
the border infrastructure also has played a major role,
Yes.
compelling China to come on the table, because it has also acted like a negotiating tool.
Yes.
To tell them that our forces can go as much forward as ahead, what was not earlier possible pre-Galwan. So
Right.
that is the sense what I want to convey.
Absolutely.
Post-Galwan,
In fact,
how
it's
it has happened.
very interesting, figures and from coming from you, General Chaudhary, because you were literally the person who oversaw many of these projects and these historic increases in road building capacities. 4,500 kilometers in just 4.5 years. Airstrips being built in just 10 months, 3-kilometer long airstrips. But Nivriti, what else have you seen there on the ground? I keep asking you this. The human resources that the BRO has managed to deploy, in addition to all the other financial resources and the infrastructure that's been made available to them. Tell us about the spirit of the men and the women, indeed, the engineers who actually work there on the ground. How high is their morale when they're building these projects?
Okay, when I went there, first thing that usually builds their morale is
Yes.
that they are doing something which others are not doing.
Right.
They are building on the frontiers. Some of them are building on the highest of the altitudes. Some of them are building in very, very harsh conditions in snow. They are working in snow. And some of them are deployed in places where there is no road, and they literally off-road to their drive to
Yes.
their locations, and then they build there, and when after an year they see the projects done.
Yes.
And the results, that is the biggest motivation for
There's a
them.
sense of nationalism,
Fulfillment,
there's a sense of
accomplishment.
pride and
Yeah.
accomplishment when when they're part of these projects. General Chaudhary, do you have difficulty in getting volunteers at the BRO for these projects? I mean, what's the sense? Give us an idea of the sense within BRO headquarters when you assign your engineers for these very difficult projects in high altitude places. Is there a sense of reluctance, or is there, as Nivriti mentioned, the sense of being part of something great?
We have created 9 world records, and the highest road in the world, the highest tunnel in the world, Shinkulla, that is being constructed now, which will come up at 15,855 feet, one of the highest airfield, and highest twin tube tunnel at Sela, which is at 13,000 feet. So all these records also have been created to tell the world that we are the front runners or the pioneers of construction in the mountains. So that is another good thing which has happened during last 4 years. Whenever you send someone to difficult areas, there are problems. Human nature is such like that they want to remain in an easy area, because 80% of our task forces or the RCCs are in difficult areas, high
Yes.
altitude areas, remote areas. So I had to give some kind of incentives, the awards, what
Yes.
kind of higher awards like AVSM, PVSM, VSMs to our people, my cadre, and
Yes.
also increase their allowances when they are working in high altitude areas or super high altitude areas like Umlingla, where Nifty 3
Right.
has gone. So that is second. But also my workforce, which comes as a CPL, casual paid labor, there are
Yes.
approximately 80,000 people who work for us all along the year. So we saw when I joined, their habitat was in very poor condition. They used
Yes.
to, cut the barrels and make some kind of a hut and cover it up with some polythene sheet. So I
Right.
gave them proper accommodation, what I was giving to my cadre. That is one.
Right.
So basically to give them some social security and dignity. And
Yes.
I also requested Honorable Raksha Mantri to clear one insurance scheme of 10 lakh rupees if
Yes.
anything happens by chance, is a fatal casualty happens. So to their kith and kin, we can give that kind of a immediate, assistance. And many other things like their kit, their jackets, their shoes, their gloves, their goggles when
Yes.
they work in snow. So all that was taken care of, and I used to go and meet them, have meals with them, talk to them. So that the communication which was lacking earlier was established because they are also as human as we are, and they have been working. They primarily come from Dumka, Jharkhand, and they are very contented people. They don't ask for anything, neither it is mandated to us. But then they have been working with us, and
Right.
some of them have been working for 20 years, 30 years. They are as good as our permanent cadre. So all this has to be factored in. Leadership is all about motivating and inspiring your people to do the hardest or the toughest work
Yes.
for the nation.
Right.
And we could achieve that, and that's how the work doubled up actually. And
Yes.
our budget also was increased by 160% in
Yes.
GS capital by the government. So it was working very well. It was a win-win situation. We motivated our people. We also got the support of the government, and the state governments also were along with us when we were doing clearing our land acquisition issues and forest clearance issues. So it was a very larger teamwork what we could achieve
It's a
during
larger
those
team
3 years post
work that you
Galwan.
achieved in the 3-4 years post Galwan, General Chaudhary. But I think the biggest takeaway is the fact that how you've mentioned how it was the human resource actually that made the impossible possible, and these kind of targets that you mentioned, 4,500 kilometers at high altitude and super high altitudes, is something that could not have been achieved without
One of
the
the
men
projects that
and the women behind
one
these
of the
projects.
projects that FM has that was mentioned in the speech was he had talked about Umlingla.
Yes.
It is the highest motorable road.
Motorable road in
and
India.
the altitude of that road is even higher than the Everest
Base camp. That's correct. Of course, that's at the one of the major projects that you've covered, Nivritti. The fact that it is a combination of all of these projects that have today helped the Indian Army, negotiate. I wouldn't call it a border peace agreement, but a temporary kind of a truce. Got the Chinese to withdraw, and the fact that if you're not confident
and
on your infrastructure,
yeah.
you will not have the military posture that the Indian military has achieved. And thanks to officers like General Rajiv Chaudhary and the men and women of the Border Roads Organization, and of course the Indian Armed Forces have all chipped in to make this possible. The fact that India today has the ability now to move on the border simultaneously, thanks to all this massive infrastructure that's been built up.